From six figures to zero. I didn't leave software engineering because I hated it. I didn't leave a six-figure job because I was burnt out. I left because I realized two things. I wasn't in control of my life, and I wasn't fully aligned with the man I wanted to become. So I used to be a software engineer. Math and computers were my zone. I loved the logic, the systems, the puzzle solving. I got a six-figure remote job, and on paper, I had it all. But under the surface, something felt off. This video is about why I walked away and how it came down to two things: control and alignment. Section 1 is control. The moment that changed everything for me, I was living in Melbourne, Australia, and I wanted to move back to Sydney, another city in Australia. I was working remotely, but my manager said, wait until you pass probation. And that hit me hard. I bought that ticket anyway, and my sense of freedom felt threatened. And if I received any pushback, I would have left then and there. And that was a scary realization, but that was a realization that I had, that something would need to change sooner or later. Okay, I realized I still needed permission to live where I wanted. I was a grown man, but someone else still held the keys. And that moment was when I saw the illusion. Remote work isn't real freedom if you don't control the decisions that matter. Someone else can say yes or no to your lifestyle. You're still a passenger. You're not the driver. And that moment, I knew I'm not built to be an employee. I need ownership. And that's what first pulled me into sales, where your income, schedule, and growth are yours, and now into content creation and building my own brand. Okay. Now, of course, I could have looked at some sort of contract work like I'd done previously in software, which would have given me increased freedom around schedule and location. And yeah, I did have that initial higher degree of freedom in the prior role. But control wasn't the only thing. Okay. It wasn't just about living where I wanted to. It was about alignment, which was just as important and is just as important. So the thing is, I actually love software. I still write code to automate things here and there. And I love that flow of problem solving. But the more I grew, especially through things like personal development, cold approach, etc., getting out of my comfort zone and putting myself into situations most people just won't experience, the more I realized I wasn't the same guy who started in this field. I needed something more dynamic, with emotion, with people, with influence. And software solves logical problems, but I wanted to solve human ones. Okay, I didn't want to just build tools. I wanted to build myself and help build others. And that meant stepping into a world that demanded presence, persuasion, and personal power. So even though I liked the work, I outgrew the path. Sales and eventually entrepreneurship became the new system I wanted to master. Okay, so moving on from alignment is where we run into the issue of sacrificing income. Okay, so let's be real. Leaving a stable job means leaving a stable six-figure income. And I thought I was going to crush it in sales right away. I was like, cool, give me 3 months. I'll be at 10 grand a month within 3 months. Okay, but after 6 months, the reality is I was making $1,200 a month, $1,300 a month, and really just like struggling by. And I'd gone to Vietnam and to Thailand by now, but I was still struggling. Okay, and that was it. It just felt like a huge failure. I went from coding and security to scrambling and scarcity and getting my ass kicked, like not knowing what the hell I was doing in high ticket remote sales. Okay, so I thought a lot about going back to my same path many times, but yeah, here's the thing. It's a one-way street, okay? For me, the decisions I made were a one-way street. And that short-term sacrifice of sucking and getting my ass kicked was me buying myself something most people never get a shot at. A massive upside. Okay, so let me tell you a story about a guy in sales who I'd seen recently. So a year ago, a little more than a year ago, I was interviewing for a remote sales role, and there was this kid, maybe 18 or 19, on the interview with me. So we were both getting interviewed at the same time, a group interview. And he was making about $2,000 or $3,000 a month, but he was really, really locked in. He was grinding. Okay, and 6 months later, he was making 20 grand a month, one of the best guys in their company. And a year after that, he built his own coaching business, and now he's making $100,000 a month. From 0 to 6 fucking figures a month before age 21. That shocked me. His name is Daniel Smith, but that also opened my eyes. Like there's so much upside, right? And there are young guys right now, 18, 20, 23, pulling in 30, 50, even $100,000 a month in sales or business. Yeah, they're elite performers, but they're not superhuman. What they did have was the courage to risk comfort for upside, to eat shit for a while and carve out their own lane. So if they can do it, if kids 10 years younger than me can really crush in business, like why can't I have success, right? Like why can't I at least replicate my corporate income? Why can't I do even better multiples of that, right? But besides money, and money isn't just the end goal, touching a bit more around depth and alignment again. So I'd made the transition from software to high ticket sales. And recently, up until about 2 or 3 months ago, I was in Argentina, right? I was hosting rooftop parties, surrounded by an epic friend group who were like really, really on the ball. I was going out constantly with sexy girls around me and making money easily through sales at this point, okay? And I let that go too. I left my most recent sales job a few months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, and I moved back to a small town in Serbia. Nothing really goes on here. I have no friends, no girls. I spent 1 hour socializing in the last 2 months, and my income's dropped to 0. I made about, it's dropped to 0, right? Why? So I could focus, so I could really, truly carve out, and not just because I didn't want to stay as a sales rep. I wanted to truly carve out that entrepreneurial path, to go deeper in alignment, to rebuild. And yeah, it's painful, especially the first time you do something. This is now the second or third time I'm doing something like this. Okay, but it's also very freeing because once you let go out of comfort, you find out what you're really made out of. Okay, like once you have nothing coming in, you have no distractions, no entertainment, you see what you're really made out of. And my life was so fun in Argentina. I had the most fun I've ever had. And maybe you're in a similar position where you've just had to say, you just had to shut everything out or everyone out and just lock in. But yeah, I promise you from experience going through these periods, it is transformational. Okay, it is transformational. You just need to be patient and consistent. And although it's kind of difficult, right now, I've had the greatest sense of peace I've ever had in my life. I feel like I'm doing things in alignment. And with time again, I will reintegrate that fun back into my life, bigger and better than before. And I trust cash is going to come in abundant amounts, because if these 18-year-olds can make 6 figures a month, how can I not? How can you not, right? Everyone's got the opportunity. If someone can, you can. Okay, so to summarize, I left software not because I hated it, not because I couldn't do it, but because I wanted ownership, alignment, and I was willing to sacrifice income, ego, and certainty to bet on me. It's better to spend 1 year or even 5 years figuring it out than to spend decades or 40 years stuck in a path that was never truly yours. Money is out there, but your life, that's the only asset you can't earn back. And freedom doesn't come from comfort. It comes from courage and discipline. And I choose courage and discipline. So if you like this video, please subscribe and check out my other videos. I talk about personal development, cold approach, lifestyle design, language learning, and much more. I'm sure there's something in my channel that'll hit home for you.